Please consider becoming a patron of MythVision Podcast. You'll get early access to every video, including this amazing one, and you can ask me personal questions, private message me, anything you'd like. Professor Elaine Pagels, Gnosis. This teaching of Gnosis, it seems to be trying to make people become more conscious, more aware, to be awake, if you will. And the Gospels over and over, I don't know if this has any meaning, talks about that he's sleeping or they're just falling asleep or things like that. And yes, you talk about this, that Gnosis in your book.
That's a really interesting question. What is Gnosis? It's not about mental knowledge. It's about consciousness, just exactly as you say. I mean, the word is nous in Greek, and it doesn't mean just mind. It means consciousness. So in the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus says, I came into the world, I found them all drunk. They're all asleep. I had to wake them up. And what that suggests is that there are other aspects of perception, other possibilities of understanding who we are, to which we're just oblivious. I mean, Freud talked about the unconscious. You know, we don't know what is in the unconscious. Well, if you open up your consciousness to the spiritual imagination, shall we say, then you become aware of a great deal more. You were talking earlier about being aware of yourself as Derek Lambert, and then aware of another sense of who you are, another sense of identity that was larger and more capable, and capable of a very different kind of self-perception. Right?
I needed to be conscious because I was living unconscious for a long time.
Well, the Gospel of Thomas speaks to that living unconscious. It says that's the ordinary condition of most people. They don't know who they are spiritually. I mean, it doesn't exclude our local identity, our gender and our, background and all of that, but it expands it. So in the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus, in effect, offers a baptismal teaching. He says, if people say, where do you come from? You don't say North Carolina or Texas. I wouldn't say California. He says, where do you come from? He says, say, we come from the light, the place where the light came into being at the beginning of time. And if they say to you, who are you then? What's your identity? You say, we are children of the light, children of the living Father. And how do you identify yourselves? And then it says movement and rest. This is a reference to Genesis, in which God moves and God rests. So the idea here is that who are you? We each have identities that specify you are an individual. Nobody has your name, your DNA, your imprint, your background, your history. Your birth certificate and your driver's license identifies you as very different from me and everybody else, right? Hopefully. And the same for any of us. So identity is all about how unique you are. But spiritual identity is different. In the Gospel of Thomas, consciousness of who you are spiritually is not about how we're different. It's about what we have in common. That's why you say, we come from the light. It's not I come from the light. We come from the light. We all come from the same place. Who are you then? We are children of the living Father. That is, we are all part of the same family, spiritually speaking, not biologically speaking. We're all different, but spiritually, we are all from the same source. And that spiritual identity is how we are similar to each other. And that is a deeper level of awareness and consciousness of who we are than our little individual driver's license identity. Right? And so the idea about Gnosis is to become fully aware. I was just looking at a poem, Japanese haiku poem, that talks about waking up at 3 a.m. and saying, I woke in the night, in the moonlight there, sitting, and I knew myself completely, no part left out. And it's about being aware of all of the elements of who you are. There's another poem in the collection discovered with the Secret Gospels. It's a poem called Thunder, Complete Consciousness. And it's spoken in the voice of a feminine divine power, and she encompasses all opposites. She says, I am war, I am peace, I am shameless, I'm ashamed, I'm weak, and I'm interior strength, I'm cast out, is worthless on the earth, and I walk in palaces. That is, this being describes herself as encompassing all attributes. I am cruel, I am kind, I'm compassionate, I'm not, and it's a recognition that we're not, for example, just a good person or a bad person. We have the potentiality for all of that. And recognizing that can be painful, right? Because people want to think of themselves as well-meaning, doing the right thing, and we may ignore our own anger and malice and negative parts of ourselves that we don't want to acknowledge. But Gnosis is about complete awareness of unconscious things, or things that you're unconscious when your sense of who you are is small.
I was thinking about that passage, or I can't remember which gospel it was, where Jesus goes and prays and comes back and they're all asleep.
Yes.
And he says, you couldn't even stay up for 1 hour. Now, it could just be, let me be my skeptical self for a moment. It could just be that this is what it actually is meaning. He's just, guys, I told you to stay awake and pray. But this is a powerful time. I mean, we're talking, Jesus is about to face death. He comes to his Father. His followers fall asleep. And he gives these hints, and I think this is John, I could be wrong, but he gives these hints constantly like, when I go, the Helper will come. Like, make you awake, make you aware. Kind of like
the Holy Spirit will come. The advocate. And so it's about a quality of being. It's not a matter of believing things. It's a quality of sense of who you are in this amazing universe, with the mountains and the trees and the other people and the oceans and the stars and the galaxies and whatever's out there, which we don't know about.
Right.
That somehow we belong to that. And all of it is part of who we are.
I'll end on this note, and then if you want to comment, you can. Neil deGrasse Tyson, right?
Yes.
He, I don't think believes in God, but he's not he has no evidence against it. I label myself an atheist, but kind of a spiritual atheist. I live this life where I try to be a practically good person. I want to help people, and I love people, and it's just who I am. I even tell people I love them all the time. I'm like, why'd you say that? It's weird. Like, you just said you love them, and I'm like, because I do. Like, I really do. This isn't just, I really care about people. But Neil deGrasse Tyson had his own little gospel, if you will, where he says that, did you know that you come from the stars? And he talks about this. Remember, you have meaning because it's just really amazing.
That is beautiful, because that is a very similar story to the gospel of truth. And it's literally true that whatever DNA we have,
we come from,
is related to all of that, to the immensity of the universe. I mean, I'm sitting here in Colorado, and out there on the deck is this tiny hummingbird that you saw making a nest. The hummingbird's nest is about the size of a big man's thumb, with hummingbird eggs in it. And I've seen the male and female hummingbird creating this nest for about 2 weeks. And now the hummingbird female is sitting on those eggs. She doesn't like it if you walk out on the deck, because she gets... she darts around like, get out of here, this is my turf. And then I look from that there's a little universe there of two birds and their eggs, right? The whole world in there. And then you look out at the galaxies. Out here in the mountains, there's no other light except the stars and the moon. You can see galaxies. You can swim in the Milky Way practically because you see all the galaxies and they're very close. Especially when there's no moon, you can see amazing things. Wow. So it just looks like infinite, millions of years, light years away. I don't know. I don't know astronomy, but that's enormous. And here's another tiny world, and here's ourselves in our own tiny world, about as ephemeral as a hummingbird in terms of the universe. But there's that old Jewish saying that whoever saves a human life, it's as though he saves the whole world. So that idea of a microcosmos and a macrocosmos is really part of what we're talking about when you're talking about complete consciousness.
Thank you.